Alright, I can put down a little more glue and then I'm going to have to throw this back onto the charger for a second. So twist that off, throw that on the charger, grab my next piece. Again, same technique, I'm just pressing it in. Maybe I'll work this way a little harder, but you can hopefully see what's going on. Again, here I'm just grabbing, this is actually all the little bits, I'm actually just using them along the bottom as well, so you can choose to use them when and wherever you see fit. I tend not to waste a lot of it, but if it gets too small then I just cut my losses and chuck it out. So now, notice here that I'm going along and I have one rock that's come a little loose, and it's causing foliage lift. No problem. Take my glue gun, put a little dollop, trail it off. It's going to now adhere, and to make sure that I got no further issues with it, I'm going to put a little bit of foliage coming right down onto the grass. No problem. That happens. This is getting bigger, it's growing out there, no problem. There we go. And careful when you're looking, or when you're working to make sure you check, get very low. I mean, it's very easy when you're working above to not see if you've missed or if any glue's snuck down on the bottom. So hold your board up, have a look. Okay, no holes there, that's great. No holes there, that's great. As you're working too, you might notice that you'll have a small gap and it's exposed to the other side. Don't worry too much about those until you start covering both sides, because that other side's really going to cover up most of your holes. You're unlikely going to end up with in the chance that you can actually see right through this. That seldom happens, and if it does, it's just a fluke that you happen to have two gaps perfectly lined up. Now, I'm going to hopefully get this done very quickly. I just want to talk about a couple do's and don'ts, a couple problems that you might have when you're working. And I'm purposely not going to cover all the glue I just put down, because I want to show you what can happen if you try to work too quickly or spread yourself too thin when you're working. Now, I've done this. This is about an inch and a half section. I've also put some glue down on here, on this rock. I'm going to leave it for a second. As I go back and just tamp in all this, just to make sure it's looking alright. Looks good to me. I'm going to leave that for a second. Okay. That wasn't very long. Already done. Now, I got some glue down here. I put it down. Now I'm going to start sticking this foliage in on it. Okay. For some reason it doesn't seem to want to stick. This piece does, but it's very flimsy. I can just tug it right off. This stuff didn't stick at all. Why did that happen? Well, it's pretty obvious. If you've worked with hot glue before, you know. It dries. It's already dry. I spread myself too thin. I wasn't able to work as fast, and now I have this layer of glue built up. Not too bad, because I just put more glue over and cover it. But if I did that and I flowed down onto the rock, because I wasn't able to get to it to cover it up, then you're going to have glue all over your rocks, and it's going to be in areas you don't want to cover. This is why I said work in about 1 to 1.5 inch sections. It seems tedious, but it's going to save you a lot of problems. This glue here is not causing a problem because I put it on the inside. I don't care. It can build up as much as it wants in there. But it's a waste of glue. It's adding weight, and like I said, you can potentially run into a few issues. So work slowly. Now I'm going to just put some glue back over this. Here, I just covered with glue previously. Twist it off, and then finish it up. Pick up a few sections here. Okay, looks pretty good. Left is I used a couple big pieces here. Excuse me. Have a little ball, have it bulge out a little bit. Looks a little bit different. I got some nice variation. I don't know how much the camera picks that up, but there's some medium green here, some light green, mostly light green all along, and then some medium, and then some dark, light. Now, up to the end, there's a couple ways you can approach this. This runs onto another board, so I have a section that comes up against it and doesn't expose this end. Now, say this was the end of your board. Well, the real, I mean, a lot of people will just say, oh, who cares, you can't see it. It's the end of the board, though. Make it look good. Cover it up, put some foliage on it, and make it really rounded. Make that like it's going off the board butt. Finish it up. If you have another piece connecting, I will tell you what to do. Remember that we left those spikes sort of like teeth. Take some foliage, cover all this up, but press it into the teeth. You do not want to have your foliage go past this board at all. Likewise, the next one, you don't want it to go past the board edge, because when you push these tiles together, your grass is going to have a gap in it because the foliage is actually going to be, again, pressing against each other and repelling each other because it's sponge. It won't set together. So if you're going to do that, flush it up right to the edge. To help you do that, when you put your wire on, keep it back slightly from the edge. That way you can add some foliage on there. So let's see what we can do. I left mine back a little bit. Oh, I need a little glue stick. I left mine back a little bit. I'm going to put some glue down along here. Fill that area all in. Grab some small stuff. This is again where that real small teeny stuff that you weren't sure what you were going to use for will come in very handy, because it can push right into the small crevices. There we go. Alright. That looks good. Okay. I'll show you what it looks like on the end. There. It's flush. It's not over at all. It's right with the edge. It's pressed in. If I want to make this my last tile, it's a nice finished edge. If I want to make it go to the next one, it will flush up and won't press against it. That's how I do all my edges. It looks a lot better. It doesn't have this weird exposed wire section. And if you're really secretive, it doesn't tell people how you did it. But of course, if you're watching the tutorial, my secret's out. So let's finish this up and then call it a video. Alright. Oops, what am I doing? Forgot I'm only on layer 2 here. So, this is what I didn't tell you before. If you want to be quick, if you're still starting out, don't maybe try this, but if you want to work a little bit quicker, remember I said you push it together and it holds? Do your strip an inch on either side, press it together, tackle two birds with one stone. Press them in against each other. Contact the glue. Contact the foliage. Next section. Press it together. Press it in. The glue will work to bond each other. The foliage will contact each other. You'll get a nice bond through the mesh, and you're laughing. You just doubled productivity. Again, if you're going to do this though, only work with small sections. And don't worry about covering the top. The top we can do after. So you're going to grab some foliage. I'm going to switch sides of this. Again, press it in. Press it in along both edges. Make sure that it's blending down with the stuff underneath too. You don't want to have gaps. You'll see that it almost looks like a spine up here. And as I'm pressing in the sides, the spine's staying exposed. That's your top layer. Okay, working there. I like to keep the glue on the charger for the most part, just simply because it stays nice and hot. The glue stays really flowy. If you want to work a little slower and give yourself a little more time, if you're If you find, oh, the glue is running too quickly, I can't even get the stuff down, then turn your glue gun to a lower temperature setting if you have temperature, or in this case what I do is I got a temperature gauge right here and it tells me what it's running at. I just wait till it gets down to about half the temperature. Obviously you got to put it on the charger when it gets really low.